Yo, okay, it's been a minute, but here is a very special episode. My fifth guest ever. He is an artist that I admire, lyrically and musically, and as a person too, just like someone who is writing stuff from the soul, and someone that we need to hear from during this crazy time. I know I haven't made many of these. I don't know if anyone's waiting for them, but I like to highlight good people that are doing good things and are worth highlighting. And without further ado, I give you the man, the myth, the legend, Quinn '92 as my fifth guest. What's good,
Well,
brother?
dude, I appreciate it. That was a nice intro. Thanks for having me on, man.
So you just released your third studio album.
hmm
Congratulations. A letter
Thank
to
you, man.
yourself.
It's
Uh,
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to even like say that because I think that alone is just a weird like it's an accomplishment in itself. So it's weird to even say like studio album number three. Like I can remember putting out the first one and be like, oh shit, like this is crazy. But now that like three has been done, it's nuts. Yeah, it's cool.
does it stay the same amount of exciting each time?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think you have to kind of. I was just saying this the other day. I did an interview with Lewis the Child, and they had like this thing called Playground Radio, and they asked me, they were just asking me some questions about the album, and they were like, "What is it like? What's it feel like putting the album out?" And for me, I've always said it's always like, and you know this, like I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, like whenever I put the album out, like whenever it comes out, I have to like re-excite myself about it because like you listen to it
So
for like yeah, like I've heard the album for like over a year now, probably because I've been, making it. And now I have to like sort of take my mind out of that place and just think that like realize that like other people are hearing it for the first time. So I'm sort of like doing that right now, like re-exciting myself about the music and just like trying
and
to put myself in fans' shoes. But no, it's a great feeling. It's definitely like it's always a relief. I think it's just like kind of get it out there and not have to worry about like demos and like what would I tweak and what would I change. Just like let it do its thing and kind of go
right.
on to the next project.
And yeah, and you always, I don't know if you're like, I mean, you kind of just said it, but you're always listening to all the little things that you can change before it's out there. And then after
hmm
it's out there, you have to let that go.
You can't, yeah, you can't. And sometimes I'll even hear a song back, like an older song, and be like, shit, I wish I would have like
I,
changed that note or like, but you can't beat yourself up about it. But I'd still do it sometimes.
that's the worst part. No one's gonna notice that that little like one
No,
thing is that it was better in the demo, whatever.
yeah.
But now the album's out, your third one, A Letter to My Younger Self. And I was just telling you a second ago, I only realized it after the second listen through that it literally is that. Every song is a letter to your younger self or something that you could say to a past you.
hmm Yeah, man. I'm I'm glad you got that. That was my objective. I hope more people understand that because I think you can like sometimes even if an album has a specific title, obviously, like I think sometimes it is hard to fully grasp what the album is trying to accomplish. But for me, yeah, that was what I was trying to do was just like you said, like paint really like a full story and like a picture of like what it is I would say to myself at an earlier age, specifically in high school. And sometimes it's not that though. Sometimes I'm just sort of like talking about things I went through. Like the first song off the album is called "Am I High Right Now" featuring Black Bear, and it's literally just about the first time I smoked weed in high school. And so it's not like me giving myself advice. It's just sort of like me painting that picture for the listener. Cause I think that's like a moment most people go through. And it's like, you kind of always have that in the back. Like you always remember that moment. For me, at least I remember it. And it was a weird, like coming of age moment for me. So I felt it was like the perfect way to start the album off and kind of this like innocent way of like doing drugs for the first time and just kind of like introducing my like shithead self that was in high school back in the day. So it kind of
Yeah,
made sense for me.
they're insane, and the Black Bear collaboration is so dope too. Um, I really even like songs like Two Tens where you're asking your parents for $20.
Yeah.
And my favorite one is Second Time Around, man.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that
Thank
song.
you, man. That's a special one, man. Yeah, yeah. That's just about like self-forgiveness and self-love and kind of empowering yourself, like giving yourself permission to kind of like move past mistakes you've made. Because I think for me, like I've always had issues with, specifically at an early age, like had issues with just like telling myself like being hard on myself and not giving myself the
Hmm.
permission to just move on from mistakes. And I think with age and stuff, and me being like married now and like 28, and like I feel like I can sort of look back at like high school with a little more knowledge. Like definitely don't have all the answers, but with a little more maturity, I can look back at it. And one of the things that I want to highlight was this song, and just kind of like, telling people that like you can start today on a clean slate. You don't have to like take a time machine back and right your wrongs and change all these events. Like you can forgive yourself now and move forward. And I think that's a message we don't really preach enough. And I think it's really important. Self-love is more like in the conversation, I think, of society nowadays. But I think forgiveness and like self-forgiveness is so important. I think it's hard to forgive others sometimes, but I think it's even harder to forgive yourself.
It,
So I just think that's something that I wanted to talk about, and I think more people should hear that message.
you had to say, I know it's hard because it's also personal to you, but what's your favorite song on the album? Like, if someone had to only listen to one song, what would you say
Yeah.
it was?
Oh, it's tough, dude. I mean, you know it. Like, I feel like for me, like, do you ever feel like all your songs are like your little children, and they all have like they're all special for certain reasons. Like for me, if I could like tell you to listen to one song off the album, it would probably be this song called "Notice Me," which isn't a single, which is kind of ironic that I'm saying that, because you'd probably think I'd promote like the most, the lead single off the song, but or off the record. But yeah, "Notice Me" is my favorite. I think, at least for right now. If you ask me next week, that answer might change. But right now, it's "Notice Me." It's just about like speaks on like the shyness that I think a lot of kids go through in high school, and like the self-consciousness that they have. And for me, I was no different. But also, I just like love the way that song sounds. And I'm actually like playing guitar in it, which I don't do a lot. Like on my songs, I kind of like I'll let the producers do their thing, and I'll just deal with the songwriting. But I actually played acoustic guitar in it, so it's a little more like ingrained in me, I think, and I think I'm a little more biased to it to root for that song, like in its success. But no, I would say go stream that one for sure. Listen to that one if you want to listen to one song of the album, go check that one out.
I do love that song, and yeah, it does. Not one kid, I think, that's ever felt awkward has ever not wanted the attention of their peers in some way and said that. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk a lot about kind of I mean, at least on your last album, like depression, anxiety,
Hmm.
um, and those feelings that we kind of all deal with, but still somehow have a stigma around them that we kind of try to put a face in front of. Like I do it too. Um, always try to like keep people from knowing that how you really feel inside, and it's like, and we all do it, and we all know each other does it, but we still don't talk about it that often. But you have a really cool way of bringing it up in the music that makes it feel conversational. Writing those songs and talking about that kind of stuff, does that help you through your own?
Totally. It for me, that's a way to kind of like get it off my chest, and I think I get to kind of like kill two birds with one stone in a way, because I get to get it off my chest and it's therapeutic for me. But
Yeah.
then I get to I hopefully am helping other people listening to it, and can kind of help others by getting stuff off my chest. I can like give them courage to maybe like speak up on what they're going through, or just kind of give them a light on an issue that they're going through. But truthfully, I think everything that I've been able to talk about is through the fact that my fans have reached out to me and like DM me about their personal struggles. I've always been a really shy person, and it's specifically with like mental health, and I think everyone's a little bit nervous to talk about that stuff, and I was no different. But for me, I felt like when I got messages from fans that were like really empowering and uplifting, that gave me the bravery to like put it in my music. So I think it's a two-way street. Like when I write it, it helps me, um, and I know that it probably helps some fans out there. But also like I wouldn't be talking about this stuff if it wasn't for my fans. So it all kind of comes full circle in a way.
For
But yeah, man, it's funny how that's kind of become like a big narrative of my like artist project, is like that topic, because it certainly wasn't like something I was too passionate about when I was younger. Even though I was like dealing with stuff, I wasn't like cool with talking about it. But now I think, and I'm sure you know this too, like
Yeah,
us
sometimes.
having platforms. Yeah, like, and I think my goal of being a musician, like my end goal has changed. It's not necessarily about like chart topping songs and all this stuff. It's more about just like helping others in the best way possible. And so and mental health is a conversation that I think is if we put it forward, is going to help people. So Yeah, it's a I think I've changed a bit in terms of like my direction as far as like what I want to accomplish in my career, and that this is just one way of doing that. Yeah.
You know, every good artist grows and kind of leans with the times. I mean, we're in a very different time. People need uplifting stuff more than ever. Like I
Yeah.
listened to your album on the car ride back home, and I'm remembering my own memories of being a kid and the awkwardness and like the uncomfortability that led me even to the grown man that I am and still have those tendencies. And it's like it's it's nice to bring that back. And was there any fear in releasing an album right now when you can't tour, or
Totally.
about that?
Yeah, yeah, totally. For me, like, I mean, I think I kind of looked at it like this in terms of touring, to answer your question. Like, I kind of looked at it like I'm not going to be able to tour regardless this year. So, should I make the choice of like just not putting out music at all, or putting it out and then having to wait to tour the music? So, I decided that, like, to help and please my fans, like I was just like, and please myself, really, like put the music out and see what happens. Like I can't. I think as much as we want to like get back on the road, like you as an artist and myself, like kind of just need to like let that happen when it happens, and then keep doing what we always do, and not change that schedule. So yeah, I just decided to put the music out regardless. It is weird though, for sure, because like I'm probably not gonna be able to like tour this music till next year. So it's a weird feeling of like not doing shows like in the midst of when the album's coming out. But I will say though, like I've looked at this time as sort of like the idea of promoting music during COVID, and even like with the racial injustice going on. There's just like a lot going on, and to promote music, like I in a way, like I felt like I didn't want to come off as like, it felt like weird, like in like selfish and conceited to like talk about myself during like the world, so like basically crumbling. And I was like, I felt weird at first being like, all right, like, and I feel like I'm pretty vocal about what's going on in the media today, and like just world, and sharing links and petitions and all that stuff. So I felt weird, like on the side with all that I'm doing, like being also like, all right, go pre-save the album, or like the merch is out, go get it. Like I kind of struggle with the idea of like, it is my job. I understand that, but there is like, there felt like a weird, like, I don't know, like a selfishness to it, and I felt weird that I was like promoting me during like a time where like we need
Yeah.
unity and stuff. So I've gotten over that, but that was something I definitely had issues with at first. So that was even more of a struggle with me during this time than like the touring aspect. Like I just felt weird putting out music in general, just with everything going on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're trying not to come off narcissistic or like you don't care at the same time as trying to give people what they want, what you provide, which is
Right.
an escape of, your music and your lyrics and your writing process. I mean, we've had one session together. We haven't finished the song yet, but
I love that song, by the way.
I do too. I do too. I find myself sometimes. We go through it all.
Yeah, yeah. Don't leak it over the interview.
Wanted to play it real quick for the fun. Um, what is your writing process usually like, man? Do you write a
For
lot
me,
by yourself? Because it seems very personal.
yeah, yeah. You probably saw a bit of it when we were in the studio together, but for me, I try not to like. First of all, I kind of go by the idea that there isn't like a formula to write a song. Like I feel like I try not to box myself in and like force anything, because I think that just sort of hinders the creative process. For me, I just like to let creativity come when it comes, and not, which is kind of a weird idea, because I think in most other professions, like you have to be very conscious of what you're doing and like purposely get shit done. But I think in like art, you kind of have to let like
You just have
God or the universe or whatever it is you believe in like take hold, sometimes. Like we could write songs and force it, and it would be enjoyable to a certain extent, but like I think the best stuff comes when like you least expect it, and you try the least, and you kind of catch lightning in a bottle. So for me, like that can strike wherever. So which is kind of to a fault, because like I could be driving, for example, and like have a melody, and then have to like pull over and like do a little voice memo, and then like go drive again. So
yeah.
it just happens whenever, like that creativity just comes when it chooses to arrive.
Sometimes I'll have an idea, and like by the time I actually get to a place where I could put it down, I forget it, and then I just have
Yeah,
to convince myself it wasn't that good.
yeah. but that could be the worst feeling too when you forget the idea and you don't have anywhere to store it, and then you just want to like rip your brain out. For me, that's how I feel. But yeah, it's a weird thing.
Who are some of your musical inspirations, would you say? Like, who'd you grow up listening to?
So being from, I'm actually in. It's fitting to answer this question because I'm in Detroit right now, where I grew up. But being from here, like my parents they listened to a bunch of Motown. Like they grew up on Motown, so like they put me onto that when I was younger. So, and when I say put me onto it, it was more like they just like had parties and they played that music around, and I was like upstairs and I could hear it from like my bedroom like floor, like underneath. But so yeah, I was around like that music growing up a lot. So like Michael Jackson, Temptations, uh,
Oh yeah.
James Brown, even like Sam Cooke and like Aretha Franklin, like really like a lot of soulful acts. Was like that's kind of like the roots of like why I love music. And then as I got older, I got into like Jack Johnson and Third Eye Blind, and more so newer like Kid Cudi and John Bellion, and yeah, it's just like all over the place. It's which kind of represents my music. It's just kind of like a big melting pot of shit. So it's fitting that that's kind of my answer for like my inspirations. But
Well, yeah, I mean, new music is always being released, but I love, I mean, just the things that you associate with joy just because your parents played it when you were a kid is so funny. Uh,
mhm,
and now, I know you're a big Wes Anderson fan. Uh,
mhm.
you even have the Grand Budapest Hotel tattoo. Yeah, baby. Uh, uh, are there any favorite like books that you would tell people or fans that to read, or things that make you feel better, books, movies, TV shows, anything like that? I like to give people something to do during COVID.
Totally, man. For me, like it's funny you asked me that because like I was like a really like late reader in life. Like I didn't grow up reading books or anything. Like if it was like a homework for school, I would do it. But like if you told me like I would grow up to enjoy reading, I would probably would have laughed at you because like I'd rather like play video games and shit and like whatever. Uh, for now though, like currently in COVID, I feel like I've like really found a passion for reading books. Um, Specifically like spiritual and like self-help books and things that just kind of like get me more in the present moment and stuff. I've been working on that a lot with myself, just like meditation and just kind of like, I don't know, like centering myself a bit more amidst the chaos of the world right now. So I just finished this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, who's like a crazy spiritual teacher. And that book really like changed my life for the better. So if anyone's into this type of stuff, like I would recommend that book. Couldn't recommend it more really. But then like going back to like what you said with like Wes Anderson, like there's films and like go watch all Wes Anderson's films. Like Grand Budapest is my favorite, but for me like that's my favorite. If you like really like visual and like aesthetically pleasing colors, just go watch his stuff. You'll totally be satisfied from that.
I think The Life Aquatic might be my favorite one.
Because you know what's funny with the Life Aquatic, everyone when I wear those like fisherman beanies, they're always like, "You look like Steve Zissou," and I kind of take it as a compliment because first of all I love Bill Murray, so I have to take that as a compliment. He's like the man.
I think
So
that's the ultimate compliment.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, what's something right now? I mean, you are super hyper aware of what's going on in the world, and you speak out about it, the injustices, you know, depression, anxiety, things that were already around before COVID and are now just heightened. What's something that you're optimistic about?
That's a great question. I'm optimistic that I think I can't really say like I don't think any of us can like when things are going to get back to normal, but I will say I'm optimistic that this time that we're in we will come out of this for the better. So however it takes us, however long this is going to take us to, you know, to get through it, I think regardless of that time period, we're gonna get out of this with a better sense of just like appreciation and like not taking for granted the little things in our lives and stuff. And like I'm optimistic that like the human race in general is gonna like improve because of this. That's probably the best thing I could tell you right now. Like answer that question. It's a tough question, but I'm optimistic that people will sort of like I don't want to say learn their lesson, but in a way that is what I'm trying to say. Like just kind of like look at their lives differently and you know not overlook the small things that I think we commonly do each day. So yeah, I'm optimistic that we'll just kind of change our perspective a bit.
I love that. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
honestly, just even hearing those things from you, like straight up from, I mean, it makes me excited to do this with more artists because I feel like we all think pretty similarly, but like we compare ourselves to each other and like
Hmm.
get nervous a lot and feel uncomfortable, even just like in high school. It's like,
For
but
sure, dude. For
um,
sure, man. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Yeah, and I want to do more of this too. Like, I feel like I don't know. I just think like the interview stuff, like, because we all have like cool friends, so it's like it's cool to like get other people's perspective on like the shit that's going down right now. And yeah, I
I,
think this is a really cool thing you're doing.
dude, Quinn, thank you so much for making the time, man. Quinn '92, new album, third studio album, baby. We're going for it. A letter to my younger self, dude. Thanks so much for being a guest today. Made me feel better. I'm sure you'll make our mutual fans and your fans feel better.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me on, dude. Let's hang out when I'm back in LA, and hopefully when this craziness ends, can do some shows together, dude. I don't know. Let's just kind of we got to do more stuff. I know the fans. I get tweets like every day about like working with you, which and I don't think people have known we've already done stuff like in the studio together, but the fans want it, so we got to do something.
I mean, maybe we should just put that song out. I mean, I think people are gonna probably comment, "What song is it?"
Yeah,
And whatever. We'll do more. I'm sure, man. And
yeah.
it's
We'll
great to
figure something out.